Hey Steph, it's January. Oh man, what an interesting January it's been. There are a couple of points I wanna touch on, but for you there are more in-depth journaling, I guess, in your Notion dashboard. Just look for everything in January, and you'll find a very detailed description of what happened during January. But I do want to talk through some points which I think would be helpful when looking back just at the video itself. The main thing that took place during January was that your partner, Marie, she went to Egypt for a full 3 weeks during January. She had a wonderful time, amazing pictures. She saw everything that she wanted to. She wanted to do a solo trip. She's been planning this for a while, since before you guys met. And it's also, you work a lot during the beginning parts of the year. That's where you tend to make a lot of the money that takes you through the rest of the year. But the strangest thing happened this year, and I don't know if it's just a sign of the times or if you should think too much about it, but you have a theory somewhere, but you ended up not getting any work. The craziest thing happened. It ended up being very quiet. It's interesting because what ended up happening was you were alone for a large portion for those 3 weeks. You were essentially just at home. I also don't have too many friends. If they are watching, hello. Sorry, I haven't contacted you in a while. But you did go through a little bit of a dark time. You ended up being alone for very long, or isolated for a very long period of time, and some dark things did come up. As I said again, you can look at the Notion journaling that you did do. One of those things that happened was that you ended up falling into this like repetitive cycle of going to bed very late and then waking up very late as well. So like you would go to bed at 2 a.m. And you would just fall asleep on the couch. You wouldn't even come to the bed, fall asleep on the couch, watching Star Trek. I ended up watching the entire, I think, from season 4 through season 7 of The Next Generation. Beautiful series, by the way. Everyone should watch it. It's amazing. If you haven't watched it, go watch The Next Generation. It's wonderful. I love that they deal with like morality and a lot of big ideas in a very like contained way that makes sense. And I love that. Yeah, you did end up struggling with that, where you weren't even eating properly. You completely let go of your diet. You started eating a lot of sugar. You started, I wouldn't say drinking a lot more. You don't drink a lot, but you did definitely partake in a bottle now and again, a bit more than you usually do. And in that sort of all fed into the fact that, again, what ended up happening is January here is very hot. You struggle in the heat and you struggle to sleep at night. And that all kind of just made it all this like blurry haze of a January. You ended up not getting a lot of things done. You ended up canceling a lot of things that you wanted to do. You had plans for it, but you fell a little into the depths, and we will get into that a bit later. But I just wanted to give you context to everything that is coming. One of the sort of crazy things is that you ended up doing a lot of internal thinking during that time. It's and it reminded me of the main part of this video, is that I actually have a Reddit post that Marie, funnily enough, sent you because she thought it would be like she thought of you when she saw it, which is wonderful, and it really resonated with you. So I'm going to read it to you. I'll leave a link down below so that you can always refer to it again. But just in case it disappears, I will read it to you here. It's from the Reddit group Mindfulness. And it says, "You won't spend all your time in the depths, and that's okay." This is from the Reddit. The Redditor, I guess, says this is from. I don't know much about Reddit, so I'm going to get certain things wrong about it. It says it's from the book Endless Practice by Mark Nepo, where he compares whales or dolphins in a constant ebb and flow of coming up to the surface for air and then returning to the depths. There will be times when, despite your best efforts to remain in the heart, the connection, the body of the earth, you will have to come up back for air. You will return to the worries, the difficult relationships, the endless chores and errands, and the fog of the mind. You will repeat old behaviors, forget your heart, and get lost. And that's essentially what happened during January. It felt like you were repeating behaviors over and over again. Behaviors that you thought you had solved, behaviors that you thought you had gotten better at, that you thought you had overcome in a way. You were in a very good space, I think, in December, where you were getting regular exercise. And the funniest thing then happened in January, where it just all went away for those 3 weeks. It all just disappeared. You struggled to get to the gym. You struggled to even get out of bed. There were times where you were ordering food from your bed. Yeah, you really struggled. You kind of, it's like that. It felt like you went back, or took a couple of steps back. But stay with me. Let's keep going. You can learn to trust the rhythms. One day, the pain of the surface, of being detached from the connection to heart, will become too much. Your truth will call to you, and you will dive to meet it once more. Over time, you can learn to swim, to choose to dive on your own, to return to the surface, to meet old patterns with new eyes. There is beauty to the depths, but it isn't right or even necessary to abandon the surface. We are creatures of both worlds. In the depths is where we find the timeless truth of who we are. At the surface, we find the brilliance of the finite life we live. One without the other is not whole. And I thought about that recently now, because that is exactly what happened. You have new eyes now. You are coming at it with a different perspective. Something strange happened. 2 weeks in, you realized that you were struggling. You realized that this is not a good space to be in. You realized that you probably need to get out of this at some point. And then you did. You got out of it. You decided to stop ordering food. You decided to rather make food at home, even though it was load shedding. Decided to try and eat healthier, to try and go for walks, to try and find some clarity again, to clear the fog, as it were. And that is growth, Steph. That's growth. Usually you'd stay in these patterns for months on end, but you didn't. You realized what was happening, and then you had tools that you've learned. I'm getting goosebumps. You've had tools, and you applied those tools, and you got yourself to a more stable state again, which is just wonderful. It is just a wonderful thing to do, and to think that there is growth, and that life is about ebb and flow. It is about the depths, and it is about going back to the surface. Not everything is going to be rainbows and butterflies, but at least when it does become dark and difficult, you remember that soon there will be rainbows and butterflies. Steph, I'll see you in February.